So I wanted to do this video because I wanted to do a video dealing with the aspects of integration and the Black indigenous American living in the United States corporation. Okay. In the school system, public, private, charter, the general education, especially when it comes to college level education, the general education that is forced down individuals' mind shaft is that blacks fought for integration. They try to say that the civil rights movement was a fight for integration. And if you study the civil rights movement and you don't just follow the sound bites of the civil rights movement, if you actually study the civil rights movement, you would know that that is bullshit and that the civil rights movement had nothing to do with fighting for integration. Okay? Black Americans did not want, as a whole, integration. They had just got out of Reconstruction. Okay? Before that, they had been in wars for hundreds of years, fighting for their land that was being colonized by all of Eurasia. All of them. Okay? Not just Western Europe, India, and South Asia. Okay? Eurasia. One continent. Don't let them trick you up with all that. We're European. We're Asian. That's one continent. Eurasia. Okay? And they came over here with the premise to practice their capitalism. And what you need for capitalism is you need an undergrowth of a population. And they decided to use the local indigenous people, what they are now today calling African Americans. Why are they calling us African Americans? Because they want to separate us from the land. Back to integration. Okay? So after coming from what some people experienced, slavery, some people experienced war, some people experienced integration. Okay? The majority of blacks, after coming out of slavery, did not want to live next to him, did not want to integrate next to him, did not want to go to school with him. Okay? And hundreds of black townships were set up all over the United States. Okay? The Los Angeles, California, was discovered by Black indigenous Americans that are now today called African Americans. Okay? So black townships were everywhere. You have Rosewood, and you have the story of Rosewood, how Rosewood was destroyed, how a white girl yelling rape that didn't happen to her, and they burnt the whole town down. Domestic terrorism. So I'm going to name you a few of the black townships, just 10, okay, that you can go and research yourself and you can look up, because when I say there were hundreds of them. But what was happening is that the black dollar was surviving within the black townships, like Black Wall Street, for over 60 days. Okay? So that means that your money that you're making and you're generating, you're constantly putting back into that community, and that dollar is not leaving for 60 days. So that means that the capitalists, right, the blood-sucking, colonizing capitalists who need to suck your blood to make capitalism work. They need your talents, they need your skill, they need your labor, they need your money. They need you to buy housing for them. They need you to come to them for water. They need you to come to them for food. They need you to come to them for energy, for gas, for your cars, for your education, for your health care. So if your dollar is staying within your township for 60 days at a time, that is totally kicking their capitalist system in the ass. Okay? So what they do is they allow immigrant population to come over. Number one, is going to help dilute their need for your population because they want your land. So they need you replaced. They're constantly trying to replace you with the Chinese that then made it with the Spaniard from Spain and made the Native American, which they are trying to say is you, the indigenous American, but they're not. Because their genealogy takes them back to Siberia, takes them back to Spain, takes them back to Italy, takes them back to Portugal. It does not leave them here. They are not digging up bones, finding Mexican-looking ancestors. They're finding bitches that look like me. They're calling her Lucia. She's in Brazil. Her bones are older than the pyramids in Egypt. Okay? They needed integration. They needed us to not have those black townships. They needed us to come to them for everything. So what did they do? They unleashed their immigrant, white, European population on us as domestic terrorists, okay? They had their white women scream rape. They were hanging, they were lynching, they were burning down towns, they were stealing property deeds, they were stealing properties, they were stealing fucking identities, they were stealing first, middle, and last names, they were stealing records, and they were becoming you. They moved right on into your black townships, and they domestically terrorized you along with the resources supplied by the U.S. government, bringing in airplanes to firebomb neighborhoods, using the police force and the military to help contain us so that we can still be murdered in the street. Ain't nothing different happening today that happened then, okay? And what happened is you leave these people homeless and domestically terrorized, and you don't protect them, and they run north to the cities for protection. And then you push integration. So then you're telling everyone they're begging for integration. No, they're not. They have been pushed off their land yet again by your immigrant, your Irish, your Italian, your Greek, your French, poor, begging, diseased immigrants who can't work the land, who don't know the industrialization that's going on, that have no skill set. Okay? They're sicking them on you. And they're coming in and they're shooting you and they're killing your kids and they're burning down your house and they're starting the KKK and the sheriff department and police forces. And then the lynching starts. Okay? So miss me with the bullshit that we wanted integration. We did not want fucking integration. We were forced into integration. Why? Because the white capitalist colonizing invaders on our land needed integration so that their capitalism could work, so that they could put us in a situation where we were completely vulnerable, where we had to come to them for everything, and then they can let their European immigrant population suck the blood out of us by opening up stores and factory and industry, giving them grants for farmland, giving them free education on how to farm the land after they just ran us up off the land and into the city, into projects so that they could do social engineering. Okay? We didn't want integration. It was fucking forced on us. And stop letting them tell you that bullshit. Okay? You should be educating yourself. And if you got your ass in that school system because you need a trade or some fucking skills, don't let them get in your motherfucking head.